Finally, the schedule has been released for the 2020 NBA season. So on this journey, I'm going to take a look at all 22 teams that will be in the Orlando bubble. We're going to break down the marquee matchups, and we're going to be taking a look at the race for 8th place. But make sure that you stick around to the end of the video, as I'll be predicting every team's record and how the NBA standings will play out. Let's get it.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome back to Journey of a Ballaholic, the best talk show for basketball addicts. I'm your host, General Hannibal X. Now, if you're new on this channel, you're going to be getting my passionate and in-depth analysis on the hottest NBA and college basketball topics. Listen, I'm a ballaholic. I'm addicted to basketball. And like everyone, I have an opinion. But if you like opinions that are backed by facts, go ahead and hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and be sure that you tap that bell notification so that you'll be updated whenever I drop new videos, which is every Monday and Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, before we get this video kicked off, as always, go down to the comment section for the comment of the day. Let me know, what are you looking forward to most? Which matchups, what storylines, what are you looking for in these last 8 games of the season? First off, let me start off by welcoming the 213 new subscribers to the channel since the last video. But without further ado, I want to go ahead and get right into the first games. July 30th, we got a doubleheader and the NBA did not disappoint. Right off the bat, we got my new favorite player in the NBA, Zion Williamson. Since he made his announcement to join the Duke Blue Devils, Zion went from my favorite college player to now the most exciting player in the game. Listen, I can't wait to watch every single game from this young kid. Over his last 15 games, Zion is averaging 25 points per game on 58% from the field. His first test is going to be up against the Utah Jazz as they look to keep the high-flying Pelicans grounded. Now listen, keep in mind, the Utah Jazz are just 3 games out of 2nd place, but they also find themselves 2.5 games from the 7th place. It's only 8 games left for each team, and every single game is going to have that playoff atmosphere, and it's going to feel like every game truly matters. Now listen, the Jazz, unfortunately, they're going to resume this season a little shorthanded. The sharpshooter Bojan Bogdanovic, he's out after having wrist surgery on his shooting hand. Now, there were also some reports that came out that Joel Ingles was considering retiring instead of playing due to this whole sickness that's going around. But listen, I think he kind of quashed those rumors, went ahead and decided he was going to play and suit up with his team. So now the chemistry of this team, I think, is still a little bit rattled, a little shaky. You had the rumors of the rift between Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert. I mean, listen, it's something that's not truly giving me high hopes about this Utah squad as they're heading into the Orlando bubble, especially in a stacked and a loaded Western Conference standings. Listen, I think, to be honest with you, trying to hold off the Pelicans on the game 1 of the season, that's going to be tough. So I'm expecting Zion, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, and these young Pelicans, I'm expecting them to pick up right where they left off, and I'm expecting the Utah Jazz to fall to the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, Game 2 of opening night features one of the most marquee matchups that the league could give us. I'm talking about a prime-time showdown, the Lakers versus the Clippers. Clearly 2 of the best teams in the league and 2 of my top 5 title contenders in the NBA. Now, through the first 3 matchups, we saw that the Clippers, they won on opening night. We saw that the Clippers stole a road win on Christmas Day, and then the last meeting before the season was suspended, we saw that the Lakers got their first win in the series. And so this final matchup between these 2 powerhouse squads, listen, this is a potential playoff showdown. This is the matchup that everybody is wanting to see in the playoffs. Now, keep in mind, in the last meeting, Avery Bradley, he was the unsung hero as he scored a season-high 24 points. Now, as we know by now, and everybody's well aware, Avery Bradley has decided he's going to opt out of joining the Lakers in Orlando. Now, it was just announced today by Adrian Wojnarowski that the LA Lakers have decided they're going to go ahead and sign J.R. Swish, aka J.R. Smith, which both the Lakers and the Clippers have now added guys to their roster since the last time these 2 teams have met. You got the Clippers, who on one hand, they added Joakim Noah, while the Lakers are going to be adding, along with J.R. Smith, also Dion Waiters. Keep in mind, he hadn't played not 1 game with the Lakers since signing with them back in March. The Lakers currently have a 5.5 game lead over the Clippers for the number 1 spot. So that would mean that regardless of how well the Clippers do, as long as the Lakers win at least 3 games, and go just 3-5 over the last 8 games, they'll lock up the top seed. So the Clippers, who are right now trying to hold on to that 2 spot, as they're just 1.5 games over the Denver Nuggets, I think this game means a lot more for them than it will for the Lakers. I'm also expecting that the Clippers are not going to have to integrate as many players. They got the starting lineup that'll still be intact, whereas the Lakers are going to be trying to replace Bradley. I'm expecting the Clippers to win not only this game, which will actually have them winning the season series 3-1. Now, after opening night, the NBA is going to get right back to things the following day. with a host of early games which will kick off around 2:30 p.m. with the Orlando Magic versus the Brooklyn Nets. Now keep in mind that since the NBA bubble is going to be in Orlando, all the games are going to be on the Eastern Standard Time, which means no more late night and early mornings where you're watching basketball till almost 2 in the morning trying to watch the end of those West Coast finishes. Now, the marquee matchups you're going to have on Friday, July 31st are going to be headlined by the Grizzlies versus the Portland Trail Blazers at 4 p.m. as they're going to begin the battle for that 8th and that final spot in the Western Conference. Don't forget now, Memphis has a 3.5 game lead over the 9th spot, the 10th, as well as the 11th seeds. And they got to continue to win, not only to just hold on to the 8th seed, but also if they want to make it into the play-in, because you got to remember this, the 8th and the 9th seeded teams, they're going to have that play-in tournament if the 9th seeded team is within 4 games of the 8th seed as it currently is right now. Now, I like this young Memphis team, I'm going to be honest with you, but the NBA guys, they did them absolutely no favor with the schedule, as the Grizzlies have the 5th hardest schedule overall and the hardest schedule of any of the West teams that are fighting for the 8th seed. Now, Portland is right behind the Grizzlies in terms as far as strength of schedule, so it won't be easy for them either. And it's going to be tough trying to hold off those teams that are behind them in the standings. However, for game 1 of 8, I expect that the Portland Trail Blazers, who are finally getting healthy, that they're going to be able to stay in Orlando and start off with a convincing win over the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, the ESPN doubleheader that night is going to be the Bucks versus the Celtics and the Rockets versus the Mavs. Listen, kudos to the NBA schedule makers as they gave the people exactly what they want. Now, the Bucks find themselves in the same situation as the Lakers sitting atop of their conference, whereas the Celtics, on the other hand, are in that 3rd seed, just 2.5 games over the Miami Heat, and they're only 3 games behind the Raptors for the 2nd seed. So this is a must-win for the Celtics. Now, the worst thing that can happen for them is to fall to the 4th seed and have to face the Milwaukee Bucks in round 2. So I expect that the Celtics are going to come out guns blazing and pick up a much-needed win over the Bucks in game 1 of the restart. Now, out west for the nightcap, which once again is going to have an earlier start at 9 p.m., the 6th-seeded Rockets are going to take on the 7th-seeded Mavs. Now, this one right here I think is going to be a head-to-head, absolute high-scoring showdown. This is going to be a thriller. Listen, there are only 1.5 games to separate these two teams for that 7th seed, and neither of these squads wants to draw the Clippers in the first round if they can avoid it. So the Rockets, who are only 1 game out of 4th, but more importantly, they're just 2.5 games out of 3rd seed. So I'm expecting to see a rested, a healthy Westbrook, and an in-shape James Harden. I'm expecting them to absolutely destroy the Mavs in this one. Now let's take a look at the current NBA standings just so that we're all on the same page. But make sure you stick around to the end of the video as I'll be giving out my prediction on how the standings is going to play out after every team has played their 8 games. First off, here are the Eastern Conference standings. You got the Bucks at 1, followed by the Raptors and the Celtics at 2 and 3. Then you have the Miami Heat in the 4th seed, followed by the Indiana Pacers in the 5th spot. And next up is the Brooklyn Nets and the Orlando Magic in 7th and 8th. Now, rounding out that final spot is the Washington Wizards, who are 5.5 games behind the Magic, and they're trying to close that gap to within 4 games so that they can make that play-in tournament. Now, out west, you got the Lakers, who are sitting comfortably at number 1. Then you got the Clippers and the Nuggets at 2 and 3. And next up is the Utah Jazz, and possibly the biggest surprise of them all, which is the OKC Thunder. Then you've got the Houston Rockets, who are at 6. Mavs are in the 7th seed, and then it's the race for 8th. Now, right now, you got the Grizzlies holding that spot down, followed by the Trail Blazers, the Pelicans, and the Kings. Now, the Spurs season, it appears all but done. As news broke just 3 weeks ago that LaMarcus Aldridge is having season-ending shoulder surgery, and you talk about a I'm talking about totally disappointing season for the Spurs and their fans. Listen, when you got the best coach in the game and you got 2 All-Stars, it looks like that consecutive playoff streak is about to come to a close. And to be honest with you, that's totally unacceptable. But last but not least, we've got the Phoenix Suns, who are 6 games behind the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, those are the current standings. So let's take a brief overview of each conference's schedule so we can see kind of what we have in store for each team. Now, first up, we're going to look at the West schedule. Now, as you can see in the chart, it's laid out, it's all in alphabetical order. Now, the Denver Nuggets and the LA Lakers, they have the hardest schedule on paper. And as I said earlier, I don't think that's truly going to be a problem for the Lakers. However, the Nuggets, who are the 3rd seed and are just 2.5 games from being in the 6th seed, I think they're going to need to really make some ground here. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you got the Pelicans, who have the easiest schedule on paper as far as the teams in the West, followed by the Spurs and then the Kings. Now, before I reveal my picks for how the West will shake out, let's first take a look at the East schedule and go over who has the easiest and the toughest schedule on paper. Now, it's clear that the Miami Heat and the Toronto Raptors have by far the toughest schedules. The Heat will face each of the 3 teams that are above them in the standings. You got the Bucks, the Raptors, and the Celtics. Then have to face the Pacers twice in what was going to be absolute critical games for that battle for 4th seed. Now, the Raptors have an unbelievably tough schedule as well. It begins with the battle against the LA Lakers, then they go against the Heat, the Celtics, the Bucks, the Sixers, and the Nuggets. Listen, then we got to look at the easy schedules, the opposite side of the spectrum. We're going to take a look at the Sixers. The Sixers and the Celtics by far have the easiest schedule. And as the standings are right now, that would be a first-round matchup, 3 versus 6 seed as it goes right now. And listen, I don't know about you, but that's the first-round matchup that I would love to see. Okay, so let's just think about this. Let's take a step back for a second. Let's look at the current NBA standings before I reveal my predictions on how things are going to end up. So as you can see, this right now is the 1 through 13 in the West. Then you also have the 1 through 9 in the East. Remember, it's not equal between the two conferences. Now, let's go ahead and let's just start at the top. All right, let's start with the teams in each conference, which is the Lakers and the Clippers out West. Okay, so I'm gonna predict that the Lakers, who currently sitting right now, they're at 49-14. I'm predicting they're going to end the season going 6-2, losing to the Clippers on opening night, and then as well as losing to the Rockets to finish their season with the number 1 seed and the West overall best record at 55-16. Now the Clippers, who are 44-20, I think they're only going to lose just one game, which will probably be to the Nuggets, and they'll end their season 7-1, hold on to that second seed as they'll finish their season at 51-21. Now then the third seed I'm predicting is going to be the Houston Rockets, who currently they're in the 6th seed at a record of 40-24. But I think they're going to close out on fire. I got them closing out 7-1, ending their season with a record of 47-25. Now the 4th seed, I'm going with the Denver Nuggets, who are currently 43-22, and I think they're going to struggle down stretch, especially being in this bubble away from that mile high. I see them going only about 4-4, where they'll beat the Clippers, the Spurs, the Thunders, and the Trailblazers, ending their season 47-26, just right behind the Houston Rockets. Now, 5th and 6th seed out West, I think that's going to be the Utah Jazz and the OKC Thunder, who I think are both going to go 3-5 down the stretch. Now, that means that the Dallas Mavericks, who I think will play well in the bubble, and actually have them closing out with a 5-3 record over the last 8 games and outplaying the Thunder and the Jazz. But you got to remember, they've already played 3 more games than both of those teams, and though I think they're going to end the season with more wins, their losses will also be higher. Thus, that's going to give them a lower winning percentage, and they're going to be stuck in that 7th seed. Then comes the 8th and final spot. And I think the Grizzlies are in trouble, man. I'm predicting they're going to go 1-7 down the stretch to finish the season 33-40. And I think they're going to end up losing the 8th seed to the Pelicans, who I think New Orleans are going to end their season with wins over the Wizards, the Magic, the Kings, the Spurs, and the Grizzlies, giving them a record of 33-39 in the lead for that last spot. Now, Memphis versus New Orleans, they're going to have that play-in tournament, which will start on August the 15th. Now, let's wrap things up by finishing off the Eastern Conference standings. Number 1, I'm going with the Bucks to lose just 2 of their 8 games and edge the Lakers out to end the season with the best record in the NBA at 59-14. Now, the 2nd seed in the East we're going to remain the Toronto Raptors. I think they're going to end their season going 6-2 with losses to the Lakers as well as to the Celtics, and they'll finish their season at 52-20. Now, the 3rd seed, I think, will remain the Boston Celtics, who are likely going to go on a tear to wrap up the season. I think heading into the playoffs, they're going to be playing some of the best basketball they've been playing all season, and I'm predicting them to close out the season with just 1 loss to the Miami Heat and finish their season in 3rd place with the record of 50-22. But it's the 4th spot where I think things are going to see a major change. With the easiest schedule in the East, I'm picking the Sixers to close out the season strong now that Embiid and Ben Simmons are healthy and they're rested. I got Philly going 6-2, losing to the Raptors and the Rockets, and they're going to end their season in the 4th place with the record of 45-28. Their first round matchup, though, is going to be against the Miami Heat. That's going to be the team that I have going 3-5 down the stretch with wins over Boston, Denver, and Indiana due to their tough schedule. That would just narrowly hold off the Indiana Pacers, who I do have winning 4 games the rest of the season and closing out as the 6th seed with the record of 43-30. Now, the 7th seed would remain with the Brooklyn Nets, where I have them winning 2 games, and the Orlando Magic would be in that 8th spot, where I just have them winning just 1 game. Listen, honestly, even though they're in Orlando, it's the bubble, it's no real home court advantage for them. Talent matters, and they truly just don't have that. And so then you have the Washington Wizards, and their team, honestly, I don't even think they should have even made this bubble. They should have just let them stay at home and start their summer vacation very early. So there you have it. You have the top 9 in the East and the top 13 in the West. So let me know, what games are you most excited to see? What storylines are you waiting to play out? Go Go down to the comment section and let me know. Listen, if you missed any of my previous series where I broke down my top 5 title contenders and my pick on who's going to win the 2020 championship, make sure you go ahead and take a look at this playlist right here. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please consider doing so by clicking the logo up top. Listen, I appreciate you for taking a look at this video. Make sure that you stay safe in the streets. And remember, no justice, no peace.